You didn't give me the kid.
I just told them.
Schedule permitting, sure, I'll be glad.
Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Bolingbrook Village Board order, and we'd like to start with the pledge to our flag. And I'd like to ask Pat Rona to please come up and lead us in the pledge of the flag. You don't miss that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Claire.
Here.
Trustee Zarate.
Here.
Trustee Lawler.
Here.
Trustee Basta.
Here.
Trustee Watts.
Here.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Here.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Here.
Next, approve the minutes, of regular meeting of January 14th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion Watts, Trustee Watts, second Trustee Carpenzano. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Approve the agenda. Mr. Bowen.
Nephew.
24 years ahead.
No additions or corrections, sir.
Mr. Odelson, excuse me.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved.
Trustee Jaskowitz,
Second.
Trustee Zarate. Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes or the agenda is approved. Approval appointments. We have two appointments this evening. Florence Yap to the Bolingbrook Community Television Group and Jean Thompson as a beautification commissioner. Is there a motion to approve those appointments?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Lawler, second trustee Zarate. Comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The appointments are approved. Reports of officers. I've got a couple things I'd like to mention. First of all, just informational more than anything, but you know, we have 5 sister cities. The flags of those countries are on display to your right, my left. The most recent trip we took with a group of people was to Pakistan, where we spent quite a bit of time touring Pakistan and meeting with our Pakistani friends, and that trip was initiated by our Pakistani community who wanted us to go see their home country, just like when we went to the Philippines, China, and India. And all the trips have been very fruitful and, again, been a big celebrating our diversity here in Bolingbrook. And the mayor of Pakistan, Mayor Javeed, who is no longer mayor at this point, but he called me today, which out of the blue I pick up the phone, and he said, Roger, this is Mujibur Javeed. I thought, okay, it's just, you know, halfway around the world you get a call. And his son is coming here to Oakbrook to a convention, interestingly enough, this weekend, so I'm going to go probably meet up with his son. But we had a bad connection, so we ended up having to call. He called me 3 times to get the call finished. Still not perfect technology. But anyway, just for the heck of it, I put his phone number in and sent him a text, and he returned the text. So I've never texted worldwide, so I just didn't know that worked either. Anyway, it's just interesting that we're still communicating. He's been here before, been here twice actually, and his son's now coming. Secondly, this past week was Saturday was our Black History Month program at Bolingbrook High School, which I've attended, been 22 years, and I've probably attended, I believe, all 22. And they always let me say a few words, which I did this time. And as I left the podium, they called me back up. And, well, again, I'll just give you a quick moment of history. Felix George, Bernard Winston, and Anita Canto Scott were the founders of Black History Month. The committee has since been expanded to include Terry Ranson and Janice Haywood. And Felix has stepped aside, now he's township supervisor. So the 4-person committee, I thought, put on a great program. And they had a very good motivational speaker that I can't remember what his name is, but a gentleman that performed the history of blues from several perspectives, including Ray Charles, Muddy Waters, and others. And then they had a very special speaker. They had Billy Williams, the Hall of Famer from the Chicago Cubs, was at Bolingbrook High School. And, you know, we're all getting older, but Billy's in his 80s now. So when you remember seeing Billy Williams play baseball, and then you see him walk on stage in his 80s, it's like, oh, it's a different guy. Well, we're all different at this age. But he told a nice story about how he started out, I think it was Louisiana, wasn't it?
Alabama.
Alabama, growing up as a kid, so on and so forth, and how he got into baseball. And he had other entertainment, and it was just a great program. But as I was leaving the dais, they called me up and said some very nice things about me personally, which I very much appreciated. I supported Black history for 22 years, having written personal checks and so forth to help support it. But they gave me one of the more unusual things I've been given, and I've been fortunate to get a lot of plaques and so forth over the years for different involvements. But this one I thought was particularly special. I'm not sure quite what to call it. It's glass, actually. It's not lucite like a lot of things they are. It's a statue or a little trophy here with a globe as top, and it's inscribed with Black History Month Awareness Club with appreciation Mayor Roger Clare for commitment towards diversity, February 2020. And I was really taken aback by this because this is really a very special thing for me. And as I told them, I've got a lot of things in my office. As many of you who have seen my office knows, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all of it. But this one will go home to my home when I retire because this is just a very special thing. So they put on a great program. Again, I thank the committee, Bernard, Anita, Terry, and Janice. Is a great program, and I really appreciate the acknowledgement. And lastly, the story broke today on the media. I'm not sure what stimulated it today, but the old Chicago property, old Chicago was built back in the early 70s, closed in the 80s, had about a 12-year run, as I recall. It was an indoor amusement park, for those who don't remember, and it was surrounded by retail shops. Financially, and the common thinking is it failed because the retail shops a lot of them were basically mom and pop operations. And I know Ed Costa, our prosecutor at the time, didn't he have where's Jim?
Nut shop.
He had a nut shop. Well, nut peanuts, you know. Well, you see them. They're at the airport. Anyway, there were a lot of those kind of shops, but none of them together collectively had the money to pay the rents that a major anchor would have had, and not so much anymore, but at the time had a Sears been on a corner, a Montgomery Ward been on a corner, a Penny's on a corner, and so on. They would have had that mass advertising that would have brought people in and the spillover shopping. Well, they never planned for an anchor, so their plan was never to have that. So they didn't, and it failed, and that's probably not the only reason. It was certainly ahead of its time because old Chicago really is what you see at the Mall of America. And I've been there too. In fact, I walked into their amusement park, and I kind of remembered old Chicago because there's only so many different kind of rides you see on these kind of amusement parks. Anyway, it closed, and it sat idle for a while, and I've often said back in those days, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me what's going to happen to old Chicago, meaning the property, I could have retired a long time ago with a very comfortable living because people just kill them. Well, finally, who owned it?
Arena.
No, not Arena. Who owned it? The old Chicago building, you remember?
Brindle built it.
Brindle built it. It was like $80 million. They finally agreed to tear it down. And I was in it like a week or two before it was torn down, and it was really a depressing sight. Leaking, there were dead birds on the floor, windows were broken, and it was time. So they tore it down, and then the site was empty for several years. And then a company called Arena Auto Auction came along and wanted to buy it, to put an auto auction in. And I personally at the time knew that wasn't the highest and best use because it's valuable property at a major interchange near the downtown Chicago, but at the same time, it got lights back on and at least activity. It was no longer just a big empty black light or dark lot as you drove by. Anyway, Arena ran it for several years, then Mannheim Auto Auction bought Arena, same enterprise. And this summer, and I knew it was coming because the auto auction business, like everything else, has changed. You can buy cars now. You don't have to go physically to the auction. You can watch it on your laptop in your office or your iPad and watch cars go through the auction line, and you know the business, so you can bid on it online. So it doesn't mean you come here. We used to get quite a bit of hotel business. Well, then we didn't have hotels so much, but people would come and spend 2 or 3 days at the auction. Anyway, the online business is kind of killed the auto auction business degree, so Manheim Auto Auction decided to consolidate this site with a site they have down in Matson. So they closed here 2 or 3 months ago. They announced they were closing. And they put it up for bid. 18 companies bid on the property. Well, I'm not saying bid on it. 18 companies came and looked at it. 17 of the companies, 17 out of 18, either called us, came and met with us, emailed documentation, conference called, what they wanted to do with the property. And they wanted to see what we thought about their proposal. 16 of the 18 wanted to put on 4 to 6 different buildings and open it up for manufacturing, distribution, whatever the market would bear. One of the 18 wanted to put in a car service area, was so effective the property would look the same, maybe with a little larger building. Didn't excite us much. We liked the concept of building some more buildings like we have. One of them didn't talk to us at all. And in the final hour, we found out, because of a confidentiality agreement, they couldn't tell us who was the 18th bidder. And the 18th bidder was awarded the building by Cox Automotive out of Atlanta, who in fact owned the old Chicago property at that point, the Manheim Auto Auction property. And they outbid everybody. So it all came down to money. Even though Cox Automotive called us and told us about several of the users to find out whether or not we liked them, the truth of the matter is, when it came to final analysis, it was all money. And a company bid $50.5 million for the 119 acres without even talking to us. We're told they had the award, who it was, and the story broke today in Cranes, the Tribune, and there'll be others. It was Amazon. Now, Amazon did come and meet with us since they closed after they met with us. They had the property, but they had 30 days to close. They met with us about 2 weeks before they had to close, and they closed the following week. And we were not excited about their proposed use. Now, I know you're not all in the development business, so some of this may not make total sense, simply because you don't deal with it. But they would have put up an 850,000 square foot building. Now, that's big. If you've seen the Amazon building, which is actually in Romeoville along Remington Boulevard, that's about 800,000 square foot building. So you can see the enormity of it. They want to make it 100 feet high. Now that's like an 8 or 9 story building. Now think about 8 or 9 stories of a building that large. Then they want to bring in at least 200 semis. Now, if you've driven through 53 and 55 lately, do we need 200 more semis? And equally as problematic for me is they're going to have 1,500 jobs, which on the surface sounds pretty good. But they're $15 an hour jobs. Folks, that's not even a living wage. And they say, well, we do provide some benefits. Well, what is some? Sums up the definition. And I know full well that a lot of their employees will be staffed up with temps during peak periods such as Christmas and so on. So we told them, one, it's not zoned for that. It's zoned commercial, like old Chicago was zoned. And two, we have a height restriction. Now, just to take it one step further, I said, no, you're going to build a 100-story, 100 or 90 foot, is it 90 or 100? Not a lot of difference at that point. Is it 90 or 100? 100. Now, to tell you, put that in terms, a typical 5-story building is about 55, 60 feet tall, like a hotel. They're only going to have 5, this is important to detail, they want 5 floors, but they want 20 foot clear on each floor. In other words, the ceiling will be 20 foot high on each of the 5 stories, so 100 feet. And that's because it's going to be a fulfillment center processing. I said, well, how are you going to, what's the material going to be at? Well, the first 30 feet will be precast, like you see the large buildings. In other words, they build a wall, they bring it here, and they tilt it up. It's a precast wall. What about the rest? Oh, it'll be a metal building. Windows? No windows. I mean, I'm sitting there shaking my head. That's the last thing we worked hard to put in these industrial parks with the fountains and the tree-lined medians and the landscaping we require to put what I would call a monstrosity like that where old Chicago used to be. So we're not excited about it. The papers are simply reporting it was sold to Amazon. Amazon bought up the old racetrack in Cicero or wherever it is up in that area.
Maywood Racetrack.
Maywood Racetrack. They bought up some property down in Matson. They're buying property up everywhere. And of course, at the same time they're doing that, we're losing retail stores because of what Amazon, in fact, does. So it may not be popular to resist that kind of a building, but I cannot support it personally. I don't know what the trustees think. Not all of them know all the details yet because it's still breaking. They know Amazon bought it. I believe they do. I don't know what the Plan Commission's reaction is going to be, but I think that would be one monstrosity sitting on our skyline. So that's where we are. You'll have more news to come. They have yet to come to us with a formal proposal. They did bring us an 8x11 sheet showing what they were going to do, which frankly wasn't very impressive, especially after they gave us the detail about a 100-foot tall building. I mean, that dwarfs the hotels we've got. Dwarfs. Anyway, enough on that happy stuff. Next, we have two commissions. Oh, wait. Yes. Two new commissioners. Would Gene Thompson please join me? These are two separate commissions, so I'll do two separate swearing-ins. Jean works at Linden Oaks Hospital, and she's a 24-year resident, University of St. Francis, Truman College, and she loves it here in Bolingbrook. Nice to hear. So I'd like to swear you in on our Beautification Commission. And joining her is Phyllis Ruggiero, the chair of the commission. Phyllis, step up a little bit. All right, if you would, Jean, raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, Jeannie Thompson,
You solemnly swear
solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the municipal code of the Village of Bolingbrook,
and the municipal code of Bolingbrook,
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
as a member of the Beautification Commission
as a member of the Beautification
to the
Committee
best of my ability
to the best of my ability
in a manner prescribed by law.
in a manner prescribed by law.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There is your Bolingbrook pin
Oh, thank you.
and your official commission.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Phyllis. Next, for the Bolingbrook Community Television, BCT, is Florence Yap. Now, I know your name is hyphenated, Florence, but you'll have to help me with the first part. Say it again. Kolesek, yeah. Florence lived here from 67 to 2003, moved away, and moved back in 2019. And you, forward a little bit. Let's get a mic. So you moved, where'd you move?
I lived in Naperville, Plainfield, Romeoville, Darien, and Joliet. And this is the best place I have ever lived.
That's what I wanted to say. Did well there, thank you. So 36 or so of your resident, went to DeVry University in Information Technology, and she's previously served 98 to 2004 on our Information Technology Commission. So welcome back, and if you would, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Florence M. Kolesik Yap,
You solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
municipal code of the Village of Bolingbrook,
municipal code of the Village of Bolingbrook.
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
I will faithfully discharge my duties
as a member of Bolingbrook Community Television
as a member of Bolingbrook Community Television
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
in a manner prescribed by law.
in a manner prescribed by law.
Welcome aboard. Welcome back. There's your official commission. And you're going. Thank you. Again, welcome aboard. Now on the agenda, we have a public comment regarding items before the board meeting this evening. If you're here to talk about the form of government, not form of government, the form of administration the village operates under, I'm going to ask to defer that to our public discussion of that item, which is later on the agenda. If you're here to talk about something else on the agenda, please step forward. Okay, next we have bill approval. Exhibit A, $2,093,773.74. Exhibit B, $729,782.12. A total of $2,823,155.86. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion trustee Jesuit, second trustee Zarate. Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes.
All right, we have reports of 3 months tax receipts to report, so bear with me. For September 2019 state income tax, $480,344.79, corresponding to a year ago of $504,019.76, or a 4.7% decrease. Our October 2019 sales tax, $2,704,150.28, corresponding to a year ago of $641,096.74, or a 2.4% increase. Our October 2019 motor fuel tax, $243,155.62, corresponding to a year ago of $165,486.25, or a 46.9% increase. Our October state administrative fee was $21,549.39. And again, for those of you that don't follow these meetings regularly, the fee is what the state of Illinois decided to withhold a couple years ago from our income tax as a service fee to process state income tax. For 40 or 50 years, they did it for nothing, but in order to balance their budget, they decided to start charging us a fee, took it out of our revenue, so we have to make up that difference, and annually it's about $250,000. So they look good, we have to find $250,000. Next, we have our October 2019 state income tax, $671,399.54, founding a year ago of $417,762.63, or a 60.71% increase. November 2019 sales tax, $2,714,288.24, corresponding to a year ago of $2,686,329.78, or a 1% increase. Our November 2019 motor fuel tax, $273,802.83, corresponding to a year ago of $159,348.47, or a 71.8% increase. And our November state income administrative fee for the sales taxes, they grabbed another $21,559.25. So there's $40-some thousand there that the state kept that they normally gave to us. Just a comment about the fee increases. The reason motor fuel tax went up is because when the state of Illinois increased their gas tax 19 cents a gallon, they agreed to give us an increase too. So that's why we're getting a state MFT, motor fuel tax increase. As far as the other taxes and the way it bubbles, quite frankly, I've tried to figure out in my early years as to why the fee would be up one month and down the next in the case of motor fuel tax. It's just whenever the state gets around to sending the check. So there's really no pattern with them. And you don't want to ask because you'll get confused. Next, we have motions. The first motion to approve a proposal from Chastain and Associates LLC for preliminary and final design services for reconstruction of the Canterbury Lane culvert over Lily Cache. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Bassa, second trustee Lawler. This motion accepts the proposal from Chastain and Associates to provide preliminary and final design services for the reconstruction of the stormwater culvert under Canterbury Lane. The culvert is in poor condition, needs replacement. The cost of the engineering is $64,213.20. The village will be requesting that Illinois Department of Transportation pay for 80% of this project cost. This culvert is the one right next to the Rocket Ice Arena, right outside Village Hall. So there'll be some, it's not under construction yet, this is just design. But it'll have to be probably one lane off and on for a period of time as they do this work. But if, you think it'll be this summer, Lucas, or next?
It won't be this summer. We will be looking to do the design this year and construct in the future.
Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes.
The next motion to appoint the firm of Rosenthal, Murphy, Koblenz, and Donahue as a hearing officer for a pending Bathsheba case. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion trustee Watts, second trustee Zarate. Pursuant to the village's Public Safety Employee Benefit Act, which is referred to, the acronym is Bathsheba, Ordinance 17-045, a hearing is required before the village to provide health insurance benefits to a disabled public safety employee. Do I have to mention her name?
No, no.
Presently, a firefighter was granted a duty-related disability pension and is seeking health insurance continuation benefits. The village is currently represented by Odelson Sturt. This is Odelson. An independent hearing officer, licensed attorney, needs to be appointed to adjudicate this hearing. This motion will appoint this firm to be the hearing officer for this hearing. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes.
We have done this before without doing a motion, but it's on here. But next, we have a motion to start time for the next village board meeting, which is February 25th, from 8 o'clock to 7:30, and that's to give out the Christmas awards. There was a time in the Christmas awards, there were so many people that would come to get their award, it could take as much as an hour. So to start the board meeting at 8 o'clock, we would be delayed for do our official business till as late as 9. So a few years ago, we started having the meeting at 7:30. The people, a lot of the people that have gotten awards now don't come, they just wait till we deliver it to them. So I don't think it'll take more than 30 minutes, but still, we have the official business starting at 8, so we'll start the Christmas awards at 7:30. Next meeting is the 25th, and again, it'll start at 7:30. There'll be no official business conducted other than presentation of awards. I will, if we happen to finish before 8, I will adjourn temporarily until we get 8 o'clock for the regular meeting, because not many people will know about this change, unfortunately. It'll be posted, but questions?
Need a motion.
I thought we had a motion. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Basta, second trustee Carpenzano. Questions? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. Motion carries. Next, we have an ordinance approving a plat of easement for stormwater detention on Green Road, on the Green Road Logistics Project. Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Capizano, second trustee Zarate. Elmer Chicago Stone Company, Royce Road. Actually, Vulcan is now operating that quarry for them, but Elmer Chicago Stone, I believe, still owns it. They're going to be providing an outdoor storage facility on a portion of their property north of Royce Road off of Green Road. They would like to convey the stormwater from their Green Road logistics sites to one of the adjacent quarries. So it would go from one area to another area on their property. This ordinance provides a plat of easement for stormwater detention It provides a blanket easement for 15.32 acres of detention on the entire site. This will give Elmer Stone the flexibility to provide the detention anywhere on their property while ensuring that the required detention will be provided. Now, this is part of a bigger plan. Elmer Chicago Stone, we wanted to do it this past summer, but because of relocating utilities, the same thing that delayed the construction of King Road and Rodeo Drive near the golf course was a relocation of utilities. ComEd, gas, high-pressure gas line, Comcast, you name it. They were all a problem. Well, they ran the same problem on the project I'm going to tell you about with Nicor Gas. Nicor Gas has a gas line that runs parallel to Royce Road. They don't use it anymore because the quarry doesn't need natural gas, so it's just a pipe in the ground. But it took 2 months for Nicor to give us an opinion. They want to keep the pipe there. We were hoping they would declare it excess and just take it out, but they want to keep it. So we had to wait for that decision to start construction. But what Elmer Stone is going to do is they're going to modify Royce Road, effectively raising it. So consequently, when they're done, the likelihood of it ever flooding and being closed again will be gone. And that's been a problem for years. During heavy rains, the water, not in Bolingbrook, none of it's in Bolingbrook, it's coming from DuPage County north, has continued to increase over the years. And if we get a 2 or 3 inch rain, you can pretty well count on in 24 hours, it will. We have to put police and fire dispatching and so forth north of Royce Road to make those people feel comfortable they got protection. Well, that's going to be gone once this road is raised, and they're paying the entire cost of it. Be no cost to Bolingbrook. Now, admittedly, they'll be a beneficiary because when that road's closed, it causes problems to them too, with people coming to and from the quarry. So, did I get a motion on this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Well, here we are. This ordinance is only up for discussion this evening, so there will be no action taken. It was brought up 2 meetings ago and discussed. It was brought up last meeting and discussed. It's being brought up tonight and discussed. And there is really no time pressure to make a decision on this. It only has to be done, if it's done, 6 months prior to the next election for village board, and that is April of 2021. So that's sometime in August. Now, we're not going to discuss it everything between now and August, but I want to give everybody their day in court, so to speak, to say what they'd like to say about it. As you people, I'm in my 34th year as mayor. The first 16 or so, I was part-time as what this motion proposes. It then went to full-time around 2000. So I've been a full-time mayor since then. But I have to tell you, it's a different Bolingbrook now, and that's one of the reasons I put this package together to propose it. In that period of time, we had at one time as many as 12 home builders actively building in Bolingbrook, and people lined up behind them to do construction projects. The demand on time of not just staff, but this board and myself as mayor was pretty intense. During that time, when I came into office, we didn't have a sewer plant. We had a sewer plant, but we couldn't build one building because the Environmental Protection Agency had put us on lockdown from any expansion until we improved our sewage plant. So my first 2 or 3 years was spent trying to find the funds to do that because we didn't have any money either. So we modified the sewer plant on Royce Road in 53, or just off Royce Road in 53. We since built a sewer plant west of the golf course. We now have a sewage treatment capacity to last this village forever. Done. No more need to do that. We had water that flooded several homes, 300 or 400 homes in heavy rains. Or not water, rain. We had a sewer system that was problematic. That's been fixed. We only get calls anymore. Maybe once a year we get a call about a basement flooding. Used to get dozens, into the hundreds. We have Lake Michigan water. We got away from our wells, and even though it does cost money, but it costs money to bring us water from Lake Michigan to Bolingbrook. But we have it, and even though it does again cost money, none of us, I don't know anybody that has a water softener anymore. Everybody used to have one. You had to pay for the salt, haul it from your garage down to the basement. Wasn't a fun thing to do. We had 115,000 square foot of a tax base, buildings such as you see, kind of what I was talking about earlier. We now have 35 million square foot of bases. We're effectively built out with the exception of a few infill lots. And all those lots are owned by major developers who are searching the marketplace on a daily basis, looking for tenants and so forth. We didn't have a economic development person, as some communities say, and some people say, well, we need economic development person. I think we've done a pretty good job the last several years in economic development. I know my colleagues in other communities are frankly very jealous of our business parks and what we've accumulated. And as I said, we're out of property. We're butted up against Plainfield, Romeoville, Naperville, Woodridge, and theoretically, I guess, part of Lamont. We had homes, basically an average price of $100,000. Our price now is closer to $250,000, and we had no move-up homes. We had basically all starter homes. And that's why when I looked at the issue, why people were moving out of Bolingbrook, because a lot of people came here, including myself, and bought our starter home. No kids, first job. Well, people had families. They got promotions. They wanted a bigger house. We didn't have that product. Those who've been around a while remember that. So every time a new home builder came in, I pushed them to diversify the housing market. We met last week with a gentleman, and we basically are going to be recommending an offer to this board at the next board meeting, who now is buying 4 lots, Americana Estates. He's going to put a home in the middle of those 4 lots. The home with the lots, time he's done, is going to be in the $1.8 million range. We have several homes in the $1 million range. Now, I didn't want to get all $1 million homes. I just wanted to be able to give our residents the opportunity to move around and stay and enjoy the great services here in Bolingbrook, the Parks District, et cetera, the schools. So we have that now. We have a mall. We didn't have any retail to speak of except the corner strip malls. And as I said at the State of the Village, and I'll say it again now, I think in the future, this board and those people present are going to have to look at some way to repurpose those corner strip malls. Because honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think they're coming back. For example, Dunkin' Donuts is moving off Pinecrest and Boughton. They're moving to the new strip mall across from Portillo's. They're moving because they have to have a drive-through to survive in the 2020 because people want drive-throughs. Do I dictate that? No. The marketplace dictates that. The small mom and pop stores, unfortunately, I don't like it, they're gone too. They can't compete with the Walmarts, the Targets, and certainly Amazon. You go into Bed Bath & Beyond, you see some item you like, you write down the serial number, you go home and look at it on Amazon, it's a little cheaper, you don't have to haul it from there to here, they deliver it to your front door, and you buy it. So a lot of the retail stores, such as Bed Bath & Beyond, have become showrooms. The hospital happened some years ago now, but we worked very hard. And I testified, I traveled, I met with legislators. That was mayoral time. But that's what it took at the time, and we got the hospital. And I'll never forget the day sitting in the auditorium at McCormick Place when where the Illinois Health Facilities Planning Board was meeting. And there were 3 hospitals up for approval. We were the 3rd one. The first 2 got shot down. And of course, sitting in the audience, I'm thinking, this ain't looking good. And 2 of the 5-member board says, you know, I don't know if I need this hospital or not. And a former congressman was president of Illinois State University, I'm embarrassed I can't think of his name, was Chairman Glenn Pashard. Glenn Pashard, chairman of the board, when it got to him, he says, I think we need to talk about this site in Bolingbrook. I've looked at the numbers, and I think that area is underserved. And he said, I think it's time. And the other 2 fell in place, so it passed 3-2. You could have pushed me over with a feather. I was so stunned. and happy about that decision. We worked on that for 18 years, going back to when I was a trustee in the late 70s. So we got a hospital. We got an airport. Now, a lot of people like to criticize the airport. But I would almost take everybody that criticized the airport and put them here and be faced with the same decision. Do we buy the airport or let it go to development? I'll bet you, if they were confronted with it, they'd vote to let it buy it too. 75 acres in the middle of Bolingbrook. First of all, had we let it go into development, it would have been another subdivision and wrapped with retail stores. And where do you think those retail stores would be right now? Empty. And as I often tell people, businesses generate taxes. Homes eat taxes. And that's not a criticism, that's just reality. Homes need schools, parks, walking trails, individual snow removal, fire, ambulance service. These buildings along in the south side of Bolingbrook, with the exception sometimes we have a problem with our alarm system, they're built not to burn. My guess is some of those buildings you couldn't burn if you wanted to. They have such a elaborate fire suppression systems inside them, and warning systems, all this stuff. So that's what we tried to do. So we bought the airport rather than go to development of some more homes and shopping, more retail. It got a lot of criticism. It's still every election it gets criticism, and I'm used to it. And I also think, and it's not the future yet, but having 75 acres, given what this world is going to in terms of travel and other things, who knows what that 75 acres could be helpful to 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years from now in terms of transportation. So, we have miles and miles of new streets. We've put streetlights in Old Bolingbrook, which didn't have it because it was built in the county years ago. That took time and effort to find funding sources to do that. We put sidewalks in what was called Old Bolingbrook, excuse me, it's historic Bolingbrook. We put sidewalks on the side of the street. I still get people criticize only one side of the street, but that's what the residents agreed to. We met with the residents. They didn't want them on both sides of the street. They wanted, some of them didn't even want sidewalks. So you get all these opinions. So we settled on one side of the street and we let the people on the block decide which side it was on. You can't get any more fair than that. So we put in one side and that's where we stopped. Money Magazine's named this town a great place to live 6 times, I believe, in the last 12 or so years. We have, during that time, we built 2 fire stations. We're done building fire stations. Like I said, we have the water and sewer. Our fire rating when I came into office was a 5, according to ISO, the Insurance Service Office of the State of Illinois. It's now a 3, which is where we should be. They told me once if you wanted to be a 1, which is like 4 or 5 towns in the state of Illinois have, Springfield, Chicago, and a couple others. If you want a 1 rating, you need a second ladder truck on the east side. We have a ladder truck on both sides of town. And my comment was, I guess we'll never be a 1. Those ladder trucks cost in excess of $1 million. And quite frankly, I'm not sure why every town needs one. When you need one, everybody's got one. I mean, how long would it take to bring the ladder truck from Woodridge to here in that situation? But we have one, not 2. And we got thousands of jobs. Are some $15 an hour? Sure. But you look at the payroll of G&W Electric on Crossroads Parkway in the south side of town, they got a payroll that includes, I believe, 160 electrical engineers. Those salaries are well over 6 figures. So those things have all been done. Is there still stuff to do? Sure. The strip malls in the corner, I said, need to be repurposed. That's not going to be something overnight. That's going to take time, study, and quite frankly, my thoughts would be to find some builder who would consider building a slow, and I don't want to start any rumors. This is just a thought, okay? You know, don't beat me up on Facebook over this. There's maybe some kind of a 4-flat or 6-flat that's tastefully done that blends into the residential neighborhood behind it. Because it's not going to be retail. And yeah, you only can put so many nail salons in, so many chiropractors, so many dentist offices, so many insurance offices, and some of those things, not dentists, but insurance, some of those things are going online too. So we haven't finished this revolution of what online is doing. So all that's been done, folks, and that's one of the things I was thinking, that maybe it's time we go back to have a professional administrator here on a day-to-day basis, whose job is to be here. You could still have your 6 trustees that person would report to, and he or she would report to the mayor. And somebody sent me an email saying, well, you know, we need a mayor that's just seconds away in case there's something terrible comes up. Well, I can see that thought process, but the reality is everybody has one of these. Everybody has laptops, iPads, so on and so forth. And I've been doing this 34 years, so I think I kind of know what the job entails. And have we had some emergencies? Yes, but I don't recall any that I had to drive over here in seconds to resolve. The only one of note was 9/11. The rest of it, you talk through on a phone. I've done that from India, Pakistan, China, and the Philippines, and we've settled issues that way, and we can certainly do it. So that's the thought process. Now, there's lots of stories going out there, and people sent letters, and quite frankly, some of them couldn't have researched all the facts. Now, they may have watched the board meeting, and I know they've talked to some people who are talking about it. I just ask some of those people, remove me from it. Your dislike for me should not be part of this thought process or discussion. And I'm not doing it because, hey, I had a great run and I'm going to take it away. Actually, one person said on this alleged town meeting that was held, said, you know, a lot of women and minorities are getting elected to public office today, and he's going to take one of those opportunities away from them. Wow, is that a stretch? Anybody can run for office, whether it's part-time or full-time. But a full-time administrator and a part-time mayor would be cheaper for this village. That's not necessarily the reason I'm doing it, but I think the part-time mayor could still go to the ribbon cuttings, which we always have at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to accommodate trustees and others who work. They still would be available to go to functions on the weekends, as we all do. The daytime stuff here, the meetings and so forth, that's all scheduled. Although I will say it's amazing how many people just drop in and want to talk a while. But not necessarily village business, just talk. That's the whole plan here. There's no smoke and mirrors here. They provided, the staff, or Jim Bone and Mr. Orlson put together a book here, which has got job descriptions in other communities. The statistics are, and I didn't bring those sheets in here, there's about 1,300 cities in the state of Illinois. I don't remember those numbers. Do you, Jim? Wait, I got, what am I doing? I got it sent to me by text today. The statistics are, and some of this may or may not make a whole lot of sense to some people. There are 224 administrators and 136 city managers. Now, a city manager, like Joliet, Naperville, they're what's called a city form of government. Illinois has got 2 or 3 forms of government. We're a village form. It was created in 1970 in the Constitutional Convention. And at the time they created it, there were 6 trustees and a village president. So theoretically, I'm the village president. When I came into office, I frankly don't like that term. And I've told people there's only one president in this country, and that person's in Washington. We have governors and mayors below that. And again, I've traveled the world. Mayor is a universal term. You go to most any country in the world, they know what a mayor is, and they know what a mayor does. Now, some are more ceremonial. Some say in that town it's kind of like England. You got the Queen, which is the mayor, and the Prime Minister, who does the day-to-day operation. And that's basically what England is. So there's administrators, and 24 administrators. They're all village form of government. There are 136 city managers. Now, I want to tell you, it has nothing to do with the size of the city. You could have a city manager in a town of 5,000 people. It just depends on the form of government they want. Lockport, I think, has 14 city council members. Every council member only has 1,000 residents in their district. I think that's ludicrous, personally. That's way too many elected officials. We have 6 trustees for 76,000 people. And most villages have 6 trustees, regardless of the size. In some places like Effingham or up there, they have what's called a commission form of government. So a trustee, I want to rerun for trustee as a police and fire trustee. Another one wants to be, I'm the public works trustee, which is a form of government that's been around for a couple hundred years. So we were a village form of government. We had a village administrator here for years. And when that village administrator left, that's when I made the proposal to go to a full-time mayor. Because the work intensity on those projects I described earlier was enormous. And I was cheating my day job, and I was cheating this job. And I was racing back and forth all the time, because when you got 10 or 12 home builders, they do want to meet with the mayor. We don't have that anymore. As I said, there's 1298 cities. And I think the administrative form of government is something we should consider. The authority of this board doesn't change. The authority of the mayor really doesn't change. The full-time mayor, I do sign purchase orders and documents like that. The mayor would still sign some of those documents, because the chief elected official is what they call the mayor. It's the chief elected official. Does sign them. And by the way, I use the term mayor because I've had people actually ask me in the early years, well, if you're the village president, who's the mayor? I mean, they just don't understand that form of government. And subsequently, the General Assembly of the state of Illinois changed the law so that mayor and village president are used interchangeably. Now, I got colleagues in suburban Chicago that really shouldn't get excited about being called village president. I don't, because I don't think people understand exactly what that is. Oh, they know the mayor. So, I wasn't going to do all that tonight, but I know there's people want to talk about it. So now, anybody like to come up and talk? Open mic. Trustees want to say anything? We're not going to vote on it tonight.
You had something here.
Sure. If you don't mind, you got to come to the microphone, please.
So my name's Debbie Watson, and I'm a
I'm
resident.
sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Debbie Watson.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi. I just wanted to know if your packet, some of the information in there is going to be made available to the public so that we can look at it. There's been a lot of mixed information, thank you, on what this is going to cost, and I know that's been one of the big
That's in there.
concerns. And so I think if that was put out publicly, and I have it, but if it's put out publicly by the board at some point, and I know it's an estimate because it depends on who you hire, but that's one of the pieces of information that I think's been of concern, is why would we bring in 2 people at more money
It's
versus...
less money. Yeah, okay, it's less
And
money.
so I think that would be helpful, and I'll read.
One of the things over that period of time, and again, this has been misconstrued on the Facebook pages. Well, 2 things I want to mention. Remind me to mention tobacco and liquor, but the role of the attorney. As the town grew and we had all these projects going, which required legal counsel spent more and more time here because it just made sense to deal with all these various projects. I mean, I think you could imagine, you obviously have an interest in government, so you got to, so the volume of things you have to do for grants and building sewer plants and Lake Michigan water negotiations, hospital, getting it after it was approved, getting all that put together, and setbacks, and Remington Boulevard, all these businesses, it was just endless. So that position worked harder as an attorney. That is no longer the case either. So the retainer is being reduced and may continue to be reduced because, again, the activity's not there. So that's going to offset the administrator costs. And of course, the mayor's salary is going to go to, it's about $148,000, including benefit. Oh no, I don't know what it is even, but it's going to go back to 35. And they'll probably have an expense account, but you know what that'll be. And of course, as you said, in the future, who knows what some board may do. But that would be the premise. It's outlined in there. Let's pull out some of that and put it online. A lot of our job descriptions, other places, I'm not sure we need those, but just the 6 or 7 core piece of it, we'll put online. We're not hiding anything.
Helpful so that the information is,
That's everything I've got.
okay.
Tobacco and liquor.
Oh, tobacco and liquor. At the same time all this stuff was growing, the demand on liquor increased. And, you know, over the years, it's changed a little bit. Not so much in the last year or so, but over the years, it's changed. I will occasionally have a cocktail. I don't know if that's a secret. It certainly wasn't intended to be. I haven't exactly hit it, but one thing I've noticed, and I looked at police reports and other things, on a Friday night, you can look at the activity on a map of police calls, and you can draw a circle around what's called a bar. We used to have several bars, and as they've closed and moved on, we have closed that category. We are down now to what I would call 3 bars, only 3 in a town of 76,000. Every other liquor license has to have food service and has to generate 65% of their business with food sales. And that wasn't an easy transition. The 3 bars, just so you want to know, is the Clementines, Tailgaters, which is across the street, and of all places, the Holiday Inn. Now, the Holiday Inn, at the time they built back in the late 80s, that was one of the few categories available, and they took it. In fact, I'm going to go meet with them sometime before I get out of Dodge and try and talk them into going back to a standard restaurant license, because they don't really want to be a bar. That would take us down to 2. And if Clementines were to close or Tailgaters were to close, who knows? That'll be the decision this future board can make. So we've totally changed that. I have met with and turned down numerous liquor store operators. I've probably had 20 or 25 people come to me and want to open packaged liquor stores up and down Weber Road. You see any? Do we need any more? There's plenty of places to buy packaged liquor in Bolingbrook. Tobacco. Oh, by the way, we do regular stings on alcohol. We find somebody that looks about 21. We send them out there with a squad car. They go into every license holder in town and attempt to buy something. I don't think we've busted anybody more once, maybe once a year we've catch somebody. And quite frankly, it's typically during a shift change. Somebody's leaving, somebody's coming on duty, or they got a new employee, but it's not, nobody's doing it, is what I'm saying. Tobacco, we do the same stings with them. Over the last few years, we've shifted the police department. They now have a regular sheet they can produce. If you want to see one, we'll show it to you. Every tobacco license holder in town, we send them out on the stings the same way. And of course, that's been helped with the state of Illinois. We did it before the state did. We raised the smoking age to 18 to 21. And the federal government, this last fall, changed it from 18 to 21. That makes that easier. So those 2 processes, with oversight from the mayor, and I want to stress this, with oversight and responsibility of the mayor, still are going on, but not with the intensity it required in a growing community, where you had people lined up wanting bars, nightclubs, dance clubs. I've heard it all. And we have very politely said no and gotten away from that. Now, that's a policy question that a police chief can't necessarily do. That will still rest with the mayor as liquor commissioner to meet with those people and say no. But again, the intensity is nowhere near what it was. In fact, there's not a lot of places you have to build those things, because most of the empty land we have left is already earmarked and zoned for residential. That's all those farms out west. The road projects are almost done. The road projects are left are already pre-assigned. When they're built, the adjoining landowners pay for them. So, okay. Now, anybody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
How you doing, Mr.? Is this the right microphone? Can you hear me? I just had a question. I had 2 questions actually about something different from the mayor. I just wanted to know, why not let the next mayor, whoever they may be, make this determination?
Can't do that way. State law prohibits changing it during, while you're in office.
I guess what I'm saying is, if you're not rerunning in 2021, and if that whoever that person may be in 2021 when they take office, I guess that was my question. Why not let them and the board, the new board, make the decision about if it's going to be a part-time or full-time position, because they'll be the person who's vested in that position. And-
Well, not really.
Okay.
If they made that decision the day after the election, it wouldn't go into effect for 4 years.
Correct. Correct.
So, not a lot of groups make decisions 4 years out. In fact, we don't even do fire contracts 4 years out. Everything's basically a 3-year window for contracts, and that's not necessarily the same. It's just that to make a decision 4 years from now, it's gonna go part-time. Three people on this board, so 3 people up here will be in the next board. Potentially more than 3, who knows? We don't know who's gonna run for office and who's gonna win. But 3 of these people have a term that runs till 23. So part of this board will continue next year. But you have to make the decisions 6 months prior to the election. They did that because they didn't want people raising the salary the week before the election if they knew they were gonna win, this kind of thing.
Right, and I get that. What I'm saying is the person who's going to be replacing you, and obviously thank you for 34 years of being mayor, wouldn't they be the person who would maybe say, okay, maybe I do want to be part-time, maybe I want to be full-time. We don't know how the economics or the environment will be in 2 years for Bolingbrook. We may need a part-time position. We may need a full-time position. I just think the uncertainty going forward would be a lot better if the person who was duly elected by the village and say, look, if you're going to campaign, are you going to campaign as a full-time mayor? Are you going to campaign as a part-time mayor? What is your thoughts to get my vote for going forward in the next 4 years? That's all I'm saying. You know, why not leave it up to the new person who's going to succeed you?
Well, okay, I get it, but it's 4 years out. The decision will take place 4 years. One of the questions, one of the things I haven't mentioned, I'll mention it now, and I appreciate you reminding me, even though you didn't know you reminded me. One of the concerns about a full-time mayor, there is nothing that requires a full-time mayor to show up at Village Hall. And there's no recourse from the public. So somebody can get elected mayor next April and never come into the office. And there's not a thing anybody can do about it. And that same full-time mayor could, with a majority vote, hire a full-time administrator, which would make it even easier not to come in the office. The vast majority of full-time mayors I know have administrative staff, but a handful of them have a full-time administrator. I don't. I don't have, I got a deputy mayor, but that's kind of a ceremonial title if I'm out of town to do a ribbon cutting. I don't have a working active day-to-day mayor in here, assistant mayor, or whatever you want to call it, or administrator. But that's a concern too, that some people might run for this just for the money. And frankly, I think I know some people that might do that just for the money. And an administrator would be required to be here every day as an employee of all these people, whereas a full-time mayor could never show up, and there's nothing this group could do about it. That isn't a concern, not the most significant concern. The biggest thing is, I just think with the build-out we've achieved, maybe it's time. But I appreciate your input, but if they could make the decision to go into effect a year later, you know, I could see maybe that, but the fact that we would have to wait 4 years, it's kind of like, I want to make a decision to come into place. It's like, well, why don't we wait? You know, and we find ourselves still like we are right now. Let's wait a little while before we make that decision, which again would put us kind of where we are right now.
Okay. I have another question about another subject. But,
Sure. Oh, your name, please?
Otis in Bolingbrook. I've been here for
It's your, I need care.
Otis Gatlin.
Otis Gatlin. Yeah, you ran for office last year, right?
My other question is, I work downtown now, and I didn't know who to ask. I sent Bob a text about this. Is there a way that we can put a bike rack across the street from the bus stop here on Canterbury? Just there's a little piece of.
We
rack.
did.
Where is it at?
Didn't we, Lucas?
Yeah, they just installed it. I mean, it was towards the end of the year, but you'll be able to see it next spring. It's right around there.
So it will be next 20.
Yeah, it's by the shelter. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a bike rack up in front. There's one behind the building, and there will be one down by the shelter.
I thought it was installed.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact location of it.
I'm on the PACE Board of Directors.
Okay.
Not saying that to brag, it's just, the PACE Board of Directors is made up of 9 mayors, retired or active. I represent Will County. And that came to me few months ago about wanting a bike rack. And we, actually, I looked at several bike racks to pick out, I mean, bike racks, but there's a lot more made than I would have imagined. Anyway, the decision made, Pace is buying it, and I thought, they bought it, and I thought it was installed, but we will check on it, but there's one going in for sure.
Right, because we get a lot more, we're getting a lot more, and I take it every day, we're getting a lot more bikes, and sometimes scooters, and they take up parking spaces, and space over there is.
Don't you love that when they do that?
So it's, or small motorcycles and things like that, so I was just wondering if it was a, but if
Well,
we're getting a bike rack, that's gonna be.
But we are, and we will monitor it, so if we see it's filled up, we'll go to our second bike rack.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody brought that up. But
But he says it's going to be spring of this year.
No, it's there.
Where is it again?
I don't recall the exact location offhand, but I'll work with Beth, who's our PACE liaison, and make sure that we get a little flyer that points
yeah,
out.
it's over there somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, on Cannonberry by the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Otis. Yes. For the record, name, please.
Yes, my name is Alice Murray. I live at 561 Boardman Circle. And I came here tonight, I was gonna have this big speech prepared, but after listening to the mayor, I kind of changed my mind. I think I might keep some of my comments, you're obviously taking comments like
Sure.
online, so. But I do think that it's really good that the village is trying to keep up with the times as far as how we're run as, our government. But I just, as a voter, really hope that we as the electorate take our responsibility seriously and next time elect a mayor who, so this is why I don't really like an administrator, because I want a mayor who bleeds Bolingbrook, and I may not always agree with the present mayor and how he
You
does
mean me?
yeah. But there is one thing, Mayor Claire, you care about this community so much. You live in this community, you,
Excuse me just 1 second.
am I screaming?
No, you guys turned the mic off.
My voice is pretty loud.
No, it wasn't. Not out there.
Okay. But you care so much, you've done so much for this village, and I am in a position too where I can live anywhere, and right now I am choosing to live in Bolingbrook because it is so awesome. So I want to have, when we elect another mayor, I want it to be a mayor that we elect, and then we choose somebody who really cares. If it's an administrator, we don't even know if they're gonna live in our village. I mean, I think there's gonna be.
Residency, I assume residency will be required.
Right, so residency will be required, but you could hire somebody from out of town, and then they're required to move here in a certain amount of time. That isn't somebody who lives and breathes Bolingbrook like you did. You drive the streets, you go to the parks, you go to the events, you go, you're here, you're part of us. And to me,
Where were you when I needed you? Like,
I think that's really important in a mayor, and a mayor is supposed to have, anybody we elect should have administrative capabilities, and if they don't have administrative capabilities, then they shouldn't be running, and we shouldn't elect them. And if you have administrative capabilities, you should use them. So in what form that is, that's up to, us to decide. And I think you're really well spoken on the fact that there aren't as many responsibilities anymore for the mayor as we reach a different stage in our village. And so maybe downsizing that position is good, but I still want the power, well, some of the power, to be with the mayor and these elected officials. So that's.
Just step here, because I'm sure, Alice, knowing you, you'll have a follow-up question. When I first became mayor in Illinois, also in the municipal code, if you look at it, it's kind of interesting to read, but you got to understand when you look at something like the municipal code, it's something the Illinois General Assembly created over a period of years, so it's got to be weird. There's different things you read in it. One is they talk about a strong mayor and a weak mayor. And I never asked about it in my early years, but I finally wanted to ask an attorney, what's the difference? He said, I don't know. It's what you make it. And it's what you carve out to be. And I told staff, first time I met with department heads back in November of '86, I told the department heads, if there's a decision that's gonna be made in this building that's gonna impact what people think of me, I wanna be part of that decision. And he said, well, how do we know? I said, that's your problem. And I wasn't being sarcastic, I was dead serious. I wanna know what's going on, it's gonna react, people like you are gonna react to. And there's no question, some mayors take this differently than I. I mean, you mentioned about some administrative capacity. In Illinois, and I agree with wholeheartedly, if you're, it's 18, right? 18, you can run for public office and get elected. Yeah, I could talk to you about, and I'm not saying I totally disagree with it, but our system allows anybody to run. And I think it should stay that way. Just like at our police department, there's been a push over the years, we should require all of our cops, police officers, to have bachelor's degrees. And on the surface, that sounds like, okay. I said, no. I don't want somebody's got I do if they got it, but I don't necessarily want a bachelor's degree person. I want somebody that's got street smarts that can interact with people.
Right.
That's what a good police officer, that's one of the traits they have. I can say, this guy got a PhD, so it's not like I'm bad-mouthing people who got an education. I spent more time in the classroom than I care to remember. But the point is, anybody can run, and I think it should stay that way. The voters, it's interesting in elections. You've seen several of them, and I've been through 8 or 9 of them, 10, I don't remember. It's interesting how the voters look at people. I mean, in this day and age, we've become such a polarized country. First of all, if you're a Democrat, I don't like you. If you're a Republican, I don't like you. So now we've established I don't like you for those reasons. Now I'm going to look at you as a person. You got that 20% in the middle that are quote-unquote independent. And this is just partisan elections. Nonpartisan elections are shifting to partisan elections. It's like I said a moment ago. If you want to talk about this, let's talk about it. Exclude me personally. Because I know people that just hate me. They bang on me all the time on the Facebook pages. I haven't even met some of these people. But I understand that's just the way the world works in this day and age in Washington and Springfield. But I think in the interview process, I think you can discern, talking to somebody, about their heart and what they want. And I don't know how many times you've interviewed people. I've had the opportunity to interview lots of people, and I know everybody here is at different degrees of everything, and talk to them about to be a coach. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it. You can sense from people, I think. Now, can they flip on you? Sure. But I think you got 6 trustees here and a mayor on that administrative spot who will be able to determine it. I've met village administrators who bleed for their communities as much as I ever did. And you can sense it. I mean, I would hope, obviously residency, I would hope a requirement to go to village functions, and be seen. Right. I've told our police and firefighters who sometimes pride themselves on driving out of town 30, 40, 50 miles, 31 miles, I guess it is. First of all, economically, that's a huge payroll that the taxpayers here generate, and it's relocated elsewhere and it's spent. Mm-hmm. The discretionary spending of people those salaries is enormous. And if they live 30 miles from here, it's going elsewhere. It'd be nice to have it here. But more importantly, I've stood in line at Jewel.
Right.
And heard people talking, not eavesdropping, but talking about, did you hear about that big accident? Or did you hear about what happened? And you perk up. That's just what I do. And I said, excuse me, what happened? And they tell me. And of course, with this, as all these department heads can very surely tell you, they get a text. What's going on? I see on Facebook a lot of sirens on whatever. I text him. What's going on? Because I want to know too, not to be nosy, right, but I want to know if I need to be accessible or if I need to call somebody and say, hey. So I think that can all be determined, but it's no more of a crapshoot than electing a trustee or a mayor. They can flip on you too. I've always encouraged the trustees that I've supported to show up at functions. I mean, we had 5 out of 6 trustees at a blue and gold dinner yesterday at the Levy Center for a blue and gold dinner in Cub Scouting. We were there 2.5 hours. Now, is there other places we might like to be? Probably on a Sunday afternoon. But we want to show support for the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts. I just came for this meeting. I came from Bolingbrook High School. I was over at the BHS Homewood Phosphor girls game. Unfortunately, lost by 3 points. So I'd like to see people know I support the athletic teams. Now, will the administrator have to do that? No, but a part-time mayor can still do it.
Right.
And Trustees do it. So you make some very good suggestions, and I appreciate your concerns, and I appreciate you coming tonight. I thought about this for months.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've made comments at previous meetings, and I just thought today, I just jotted that down sitting at the basketball game. Those kinds of things that have been done. We don't have to worry about some of those things anymore.
Right.
It just has to be supervised. And maybe a professional administrator might be a little better at this point. I've learned a lot in 34 years, but a new mayor won't know those things, whether they're full-time or part-time. You know, I give you, well, I'm not going to tell that story. I shouldn't tell it. but-
No, I agree with you. It's probably time for a change, and I trust the people that I elected to, you know, to take it seriously and.
Well, when I went from part-time to full-time, I read the orders 3 times in a meeting, just like we're doing here. I read it out loud 3 times. This has been published now 3 times, and frankly, I'll probably roll at another meeting. We're not going to vote on it tonight. I might not vote, I might not call for a vote the next meeting. But I want everybody to have a chance to hear about it. There's no surprise here, there's no game, there's no nothing.
Okay, I know everybody wants to probably go home, but since I'm here, I have a question because I saw Otis took advantage of this microphone. I live off of Royce Road, and I've called the village about an issue, and I'm not sure it's getting resolved. So, you know, we have Wallen Lake across the street from us, and there are 2 places where you can cross the street to get over there from Heritage Creek. So the crossing that is more to the east, the lights that flash to warn vehicles that you're in a crosswalk, one of them is missing. So I would just appreciate, as a person who utilizes that crosswalk, because I don't think that's Bolingbrook Road.
Lucas is
I
in
know.
charge of that department.
He's taking
It will
notes.
be fixed by the
Thank
end of the
you.
week.
Well, I don't know. Okay, thanks. That's really awesome.
Well, if there's something.
Don't encourage me to come more.
No, and I've said that before and found out it was a ComEd problem.
Well,
So, except for a ComEd problem, if
I'm-
it's a light bulb or you got hit by a car. or
No,
something
I'm not
broke it.
sure. I think it's going to be a little more involved than that. When he sees it, he'll see.
Did you run into it?
No. No, it's just not there. Like, one is facing the quarry, and the one that's facing for cars traveling from west to east is just, there isn't one. And I think
The guy
it
in the
might,
back row over there too, he will be on this first thing in the
I
morning.
mean, it might be the Forest Preserve, and it might be the road. I don't think that's a Bolingbrook Road either.
No, it is Bolingbrook.
Oh, it is?
Forest
Okay.
Pro- But the Forest
Yeah.
Preserve is the one.
It
that
might
has
be the Forest
crossing.
Preserve, so, but if somebody could just follow up on that for me, I'd really appreciate it.
Well, what
I'll bring you
we generally
cookies.
do is I said, get it fixed and we'll work out who pays for it later.
Okay,
All right?
thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
My name is Jackie Randall. I'm sure that most of you are aware of a town hall meeting that was called by Bob Jackowitz on January 29th. That was a total bash session. I personally think that he is a sworn trustee. He should be sworn to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. There was things that were brought up at that. The mayor and the admin was brought up. He stately said that he didn't have any packages, he didn't have any information, but he stately said that the admin and the mayor would cost more money than it does right now. He stately said it. That's why that lady right there said it's gonna cost more money. He also was brought up about the Century Tile Building. He said that the village tried to purchase that for $400,000, but the people in Michigan did not want to sell that. They want $1 million an acre. Of course, that was a true statement. But the also true statement was that our current mayor, whether you like him or not, he has worked diligently trying to get that building resolved. And that's all you had to say. But instead you let that bashing go on. The next thing you said was that the trustees were invited to that but didn't care to come. That is not the truth. The truth was that they got an email from you and they emailed back, but instead you said that they didn't care to come. That's what you said. The next thing was the garbage. The garbage bill was, in 2017, it was taken off the taxes. In 2018, the residents weren't billed for it. And in 2019, May 1st, every person was billed $62.57. He stately said that people were getting liens on their home, which that happens whether it was the garbage bill or whether you owed a credit or something. It doesn't matter what it is. But you said that people were getting evicted from their homes for a garbage bill. Absolutely not. The last thing I have to say, which is very disturbing, because you were at the State of the Village. In the State of the Village, Jackie Trenier stood up and said that the mayor said that he is going to work 6 months in Bolingbrook and 6 months in California. You knew that that's not what he said, but you stately let that go on. You agreed with it. That's not what he said. I went back on the State of the Village, and I verbatimly got out what he said. And he said, I have a 5-year-old granddaughter in California who is calling my name. He said, she's in Vista, California, a suburb of San Diego. And I will be heavily involved in the transition and thereafter of the village board and government. I plan to stay here. Let's H-E-R-E. I plan to stay here. You have 6 months here, or the taxes in California would kill him. That's what he said. He didn't say that he was going to work 6 months in California. You knew that, but you didn't say it. Either way it goes, you don't have to like him. You don't have to like the next mayor. And matter of fact, I don't know if you're even going to have a seat. All I know is that you need to have Bolingbrook at your heart, and I don't feel you do.
I only have 2 things to say regarding that. Yes, that meeting was held. I know the question was asked, Roger will be out of town. The meeting should be held when he's here. Everybody knew I was leaving town. And I left town, the meeting was held anyway. So it was a free chance to bash me, and I understand that. The same people bash me all the time. It's a handful of 25 people out of 76,000 people. But I would say this to all the trustees, and I'm not suggesting you don't. But if you hear something being said at a public meeting, I do believe, not necessarily a fiduciary responsibility, but as an elected official of this village, if you know it's in fact not true, in part, or even a small part of it, you should step up and correct it. It's that simple. And I did watch part of the meeting. It was on, after 20 minutes, I couldn't stand it any longer because of the misinformation, and I turned it off. But the reality is, when something incorrect is said or it's not true, I would appreciate department heads and others intervening and saying, here's the facts, folks, or here's a phone number, call this number and get the facts. Did you want to say something?
Yes. So,
Ask her her name.
Name, please.
yes, Karina Lopez, and I'm a resident of Bolingbrook. Karina?
Okay.
Okay. This is more like an issue, and one of them is that I live in Winston Village. I take the Pace Bus. As you know, the Pace Bus stops right on the corner of Winston and Button. Around 3 years ago, I got hit by a car crossing the street, and this is just a pedestrian issue. So, as you know, for those that live in Bolingbrook, Winston and Button, it's kind of like a cross street, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things is that when I was crossing the street to go to the other side to catch my bus, the car that it was coming from the opposite side was the one that hit me. Also, one of the things is that I had the right way to go. We did have the signs, we have the push buttons, so we can cross the street. So I think one of the things is just a recommendation, or we should do it, because there has been fellows that come with me that stop going to that stop due to the fact that what happened to me, because they saw me when I got hit. I don't know what is the solution, or there can be a solution, because in downtown, when there is intersections like that, what happens is that everything stops so pedestrian can cross the street. Yeah, I know that's downtown, but I do that 5 days a week, sometimes even more. And it's not only me, there's a couple of residents of Bolingbrook, they take the bus there.
So is it at the lighted intersection?
Yeah, right on the intersection. Mm-hmm.
And you got hit, somebody, they blow the stop sign, or they just?
No, they had the green light, but so you know how it's a cross like this, right? So when traffic is coming from both ways, the light from the sides, turns green. But when you want to cross the street, or you have the pedestrian sign and you cross it. So, by the way, I think he didn't see me. Those lights that come from the sides are usually green when pedestrians are trying to cross to the other side. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. So when you have the sign to walk, I'm not really good.
This is Dagmara. I'll try to explain it a little bit better. So the issue here is that overall, and we know this to be true of certain suburban communities, right? When it comes to a lot of us commute, because now we have these developments with having Pace being accessible, particularly here in Bolingbrook. A lot of us are choosing to take public transportation to commute. In that particular intersection, when pedestrians have the right of way, on Winston Drive, cars can still turn. And if they're not looking, they'll hit somebody like my sister. I was almost hit as well by somebody who was on their phone, right? Because they saw the green light and they thought, okay, now I can turn without seeing that pedestrians still have the right of way. So I think that the recommendation is that there needs to be a specific button, and I don't know how Public Works can actually do this and work with the red lights, a button where people are trying to get to that actual bus stop, that it actually makes sure that all the 4 lights are actually red, so that people are actually able to get to that specific stop.
Yeah, I know, and you obviously know too, there's in the city in particular, you hit a button and it's got a hand say, don't walk, and it says walk. Those are obviously available. They're not cheap, but if that's what it takes, it's what it takes. But what I prefer to do, just if you would, as soon as the meeting adjourns, go see the guy down there. Lucas, wave your hand.
Yeah, I could even get your testimonies of other people who almost got hit.
Well, give me your name and addresses. We will involve them along with our PACE liaison, who was mentioned earlier, Beth Gonzalez, and we'll sit down and see what there might be able to be done, and maybe a director of public safety join you too. If there's some mechanism we can install that may not be a full-blown everybody stops, but at least some device, because especially in the wintertime when it's dark out.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point where it's actually safer for us to cross right in between the median, where you have that, in Winston Village, you could actually turn right in between, right? It's actually safer for us to cross there, stop where that in between the median, and then cross on the other way. So, and that's because we know that that's actually safer than actually going the actual pedestrian way.
Give him the numbers. We'll look at it. But we can't legislate good driving.
No,
And it's like the guy on the cell phone or girl. I mean, eating donuts, drinking coffee. There's just a million things that divert people's attention. And of course, people are anxious to get home, so they're speeding.
And we completely understand that, but this
we'll look at it.
Yeah.
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have a question. I just wanted to let you know, we're all sitting on this board to help our constituents. And if there's ever a problem, like you being hit like that, you should report it to us so that we can know not to wait so long to take care of this problem. That's why we're all here. We're accessible to you.
Right.
You live in Bolingbrook, we care.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that happened a long time, and definitely I did report this to the police and everything.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm sorry that happened to you, but you know what? You're going to save more lives.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Something I brought up.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes. Oh, trustee comments. Let's start with Maria.
Well, I have some comments on the part-time thing. First, on the town hall situation, I've held 3 town halls since I became elected. And I found out the best way to get responses and feedback and information from our residents is to let them talk and not criticize them, not debate them, or do those types of things. So people will say a lot of things at a town hall that if you start challenging them on those issues and that, they're not going to be as open as you want them to be. And so that is why I let people talk at town halls. Don't challenge them and don't try to correct them on a lot of things. So, but in the meantime, when I did have that town hall, a lot of people did talk about the part-time mayor administrative position. And since that town hall, I also received some emails and a few phone calls from people that were not able to attend. And you answered a lot of the questions, Roger, when you did your presentation to introduce this, and then when a couple of the other speakers came up. But I have some questions that weren't answered. I know the answers, but for transparency purposes and for other people that hear them, it would be good for them to know what's going on. At the last meeting or prior to that, Jackie mentioned that I said that it's going to cost more for 2 positions than 1. And the response I got is more than likely that was going to be the case. But when that Mr. Bowen put together, there was a credit in here from our in-house attorney for $120,000. And if you take that credit and then you take those 2 positions, yes, the total dollar amount will be less. But at the time we were talking about it, there was no indication about that credit. And I give kudos to Olson and Sturk for their being able to do that, to the fact that if we have a full-time administrator, we're not going to need to have the attorneys in-house as much, excuse me, which will save us a ton of money. So that is one thing that's in this booklet. So the total cost, and this is if we pay the administrator a suggested amount of money and so on, but we're looking at a total cost of $236,000 yearly for a part-time mayor and a full-time administrator. But with that $120,000 credit from them, the total cost will save us about $60,000, a little over that, if we go this route.
That includes benefits as well.
Yeah. Now, one of the concerns was going part-time at a $35,000 an hour job, and like the mayor mentioned, you could win the mayorship and never show up for work. And there's a lot of people out there who their full-time income is $35,000. And you could say, oh, I'm going to run for mayor just to supplement my income, knowing full well it's part-time, I can do my full-time job, now I'm going to be making $70,000 a year. And maybe I'll show up, maybe I won't. We got a full-time administrator. And so you could end up with 5 or 6 or 7 people on the ballot, those who are doing it for the right reasons and those who are doing it for the wrong reasons. And if the general public doesn't do their homework, you could very easily have somebody win that mayorship that has no intent to do much for the village except for collect that salary, kind of thing. One of the options I would like to see us consider, and I'm pretty sure that, and I'm speaking out, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I think every one of us up here is here for the right reasons. But every one of us up here also has a wherewithal. We don't need what little bit we make on this. I would suggest that if we're going to go this route, we start looking like what the school board does, the library board, the park board, and eliminate the salaries for these elected positions, for the part-time mayor and for the trustees. And that way we got that additional money to help out in other areas and just pay the full-time administrator. And that's one option. And then those people that do run will be running for the right reason because they know they're not going to get any monetary incentive to do so. So that's one thing to look at in the final proposal.
You done?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's interesting you would The demand on the trustees' times, as I described earlier, is pretty enormous. They don't have expense accounts. I believe, Bob, when you first came across, you asked if there was an expense account. They don't have expense accounts. They pay out of their own pocket when they go to chili suppers, this, that, the other. They buy their own gas. They don't get mileage. Now, if they go to Springfield to a conference, they might get mileage. But they don't have expense accounts. That was eliminated over the last few years. And I did it because it just seemed like the smarter thing to do. Here, you pay, you go to that, use that money. And they've been told, you know, the village is not sponsoring this, not buying a ticket, you take it out of your pocket. There's no question some people might run for that amount of money. But there's also a number of people today that run for office just for the sheer power. I think you all know that. Some people just want to be in charge. And that's fine too. There's lots of reasons. Trustees, I know trustees that didn't go to anything when they were trustees. Fortunately, the people see that and vote them out of office. So you can't control everything, but as an exiting person, I would not support taking the salary away from the trustees. I think they do earn it. These five certainly do. You do too. Going to functions. Now, again, let the voters filter that out. But that mayor doesn't show up, even though $35,000 may seem like a lot of money to some people. That mayor doesn't show up. That'll be flushed out too, I would hope, at the next election. Unfortunately, those elections are 4-year cycles. And I'm not suggesting we go to 2-year cycles. I'm just saying that will happen. But, you know, it's like you can't control what somebody elected is going to do afterwards. As far as you don't stop to correct people, you should. You hear somebody say something this village is doing or not doing, and you know it's not true, you should correct them. I don't care if it upsets them and makes them happy about you, but you have a fiduciary responsibility to correct people on what's really truthful about what's going on in this town or what somebody has or has not done. And frankly, I'm disappointed you don't correct them. But that's your call. You're elected, you can do what you want. Trustee comments?
I've got a comment.
Well, okay. We gotta
Sorry.
move on here, folks.
Just very quickly about that. You are correct with regards to the financial. So quite honestly, because this has been asked before, I think with the financial, I'm still out of pocket because you support one non-for-profit, you have to support them all, but Mayor Claire covered that. Ms. Randall, with regards to your comments, and Mayor Claire followed up on it, the reason it was important to have him at the town hall, either him or Mr. Bowen, was because of the historical reasons. None of us, or at least us, I think Trustee Lawler maybe, knew why it went from part-time to full-time, or we didn't have enough knowledge to be able to properly answer those questions. Hence, it was requested that the meeting date be changed to where one of the two, if not both, could be in attendance so that we could answer the questions with correct answers, not guesstimate them. And then with regards to running, I know that some of the comments were, you know, they have to bleed Bolingbrook, and that's exactly correct. What we do not do for the money. We don't do for the fame. There is no glory. You get questions. You get stopped at Meijer or Walmart or wherever, and people ask you questions, and they want a traffic light or a tree cut or what have you. You have to actually believe in what you do. You don't go to events just to shake hands and wear a name tag. You go because you truly believe in what's happening. And if you don't run. Because this fame and glory or 30 seconds of TV is not worth it. Really isn't. And you as voters need to know what's important to you. It's your town, it's your home. Right? So, true.
Okay.
That's democracy. We need to know.
We can't hear you. It's not.
Well, that's not important.
But anyway, bottom line is, when you choose your leaders, trustee, mayor, whatever it is, start looking at them now. Where are they, who are they, and what are they doing for your community? And if you don't see them, if you don't hear from them, if they can't answer a question,
Honestly.
so.
One more comment about the salaries going back years. One of the reasons salaries were established is we found that a lot of people could not afford to serve because they had to hire babysitters. Predominantly, at the time in our society, it was the woman who was at a single-parent home, and they had to hire a babysitter to serve on a board or commission. We felt then, and I still feel that was inherently unfair, to disallow the single-parent, male or female, to not be able to serve in this capacity because they couldn't afford it, because they couldn't handle the cost of a babysitter, if you can even find one. But the point was, that was historically why it happened. So that would be a disservice to those people to take that opportunity away from them, I think.
I know we have to wrap up this topic, but something that I've looked at a lot is some of our surrounding municipalities. And the big elephant in the room is, I don't know if there's another Roger Clare out there. Some would say that's fantastic. Others would say that's a big gaping hole that we have to fill. Bert, I didn't ask you this before, but do you know what the average salary of an economic development manager is, roughly?
Somewhere in the area of 125 to 145,000.
Significant salary. And Mayor Clare has done that as well. So when we're looking at what he's done and what we're going to try to fill with a professional administrator, all of those duties, which our mayor, and maybe over 34 years, has learned and experienced, if we're lucky enough to get someone else that has that experience, God bless. But if we're not, we have to have that institutional knowledge. Mr. Bowen's in the audience. There's a lot of knowledge there. Thankfully, he's with us, on an interim basis. But we have to look towards the future. This board has to set this village up for success. And if we don't have that kind of professionalism behind us, we're all great trustees. We're accessible. We're all those things we talk about. But we may not know all that we need to know that a professional administrator needs to handle every day. So just another subset that we need to look at of why we're doing what we need to do. I don't want to give any more attention to Bob's political town hall or whatever heck he called it, but I do hope that he takes the words tonight to heart, that as he hears things that are incorrect, that we stand up and correct those, or direct the appropriate person to the appropriate department or person to get the correct answer, because I believe that is our responsibility as elected officials. Thank you.
All right. Trustee comments. Trustee Zarate,
Yes.
let's kind of
Okay, thank you, Mayor. St. Paul,
beat 'em up.
okay, thank you. St. Baldrick's will be having their, on Sunday, March 8th, from 12 to 5. It will be at the Bolingbrook Golf Club. And I did give the date, March 8th, sorry. Okay, Bolingbrook Golf Club will cordially invite you to our fairy tale brunch. This will be nice to get your daughters, or dads could take their daughters, whatever. They'll have Rapunzel there, Belle, Ariel, Snow Queen. A morning filled with magic and a special performance by your favorite princess. Enjoy a delicious brunch and meet and greet. February 15th from 10 to 1. And if you have any reservations are required, the number to call is 630-771-9400. Adults and children will be $35, no entry fee for children under 1. And I have one more. It is, the town center will be closed on Monday, February 17th, in observance of President's Day. Town center will be closed, I'm sorry about that. If you have a situation that needs immediate attention, please do not, but is not an emergency, contact the police non-emergency line 24 hours at 630-8660. That's all I have. Thank you.
I'm just going to talk about one event. It was handed to me tonight by some folks who are in the audience, and some others who were earlier. So this Friday, Valentine's Day, they're going to have an event at the Community Center in Suite B, where they're celebrating veterans on Valentine's Day at 10:30 in the morning. And they're also providing, company is providing some computer hardware and software, and they're going to make sure the veterans get taken care of so they can get the word out about all the great programs that they're doing to support the community. Any other information I had? Go to bolingbrook.com.
Coming up on March 3rd is Breakfast with the Chief, Fire Station number 3. I'm sorry, coffee, I'm sorry. I'm getting hungry. Coffee with the Chief, March 3rd, Fire Station 3. This past month, we had several new residents coming out, so it is getting bigger and much more informative. Story time at the museum, second Thursday of each month, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., 444 East Briarcliff in Bolingbrook. This is a free walk-in event. Preschool and kindergartners must be accompanied by an adult. And it is at the Bolingbrook Historical Museum, where you can visit and learn about the village afterwards. 25th Anniversary Great Chefs Tasting Party and Auction. Save the date. It will be held on Sunday, March the 1st at Bolingbrook Golf Club. RSVP at 815-744-3500. This is a special event to benefit the Center for Disability Service. Email is ginaw@cdsil.org. Thank you, and happy Valentine's for everyone.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to congratulate the new appointees to the commissions there. Thank you for stepping up to the plate to serve our community. It's greatly appreciated. And residents that came out tonight to express yourself, we want to thank you as well. We are listening, and I can assure you that we're going to do everything that we can under this new structure to ensure that constituent services remain a high priority and that the needs of staff are met on a day-to-day basis. I just have a couple of quick announcements. The Bolingbrook Firefighter, they're having a chili cook-off that takes place on March 18th from 6 to 9 at the Rock Bottom Brewery at the Bolingbrook Promenade. Again, that's March 18th from 6 to 9, Firefighter Chili Cook-Off. Illinois Aviation Museum, they're doing an airspace refresher at the airport. And so if you're interested in understanding current rules and regulations as it relates to aviation, please come out. That is taking place February 20th. It's on a Thursday. I do not see the time here, but you can register. There's no cost. www.illinoisaviationmuseum.org. Just a quick note, the Bolingbrook Fire Station, they're doing their free child care seat check. That takes place at Bolingbrook Fire Station 4, 1111 West Boughton. That is Saturday, February 22nd from 9 to noon. Thank you.
Just two quick announcements for me coming up in March. First up is Bolingbrook's Got Talent. It's a great fundraiser that is benefiting Midwest Christian Montessori Academy. It is Saturday, March 7th. At 2 o'clock, hosted at the Bolingbrook Community Center. All of the auditions are already in. However, tickets are now on sale, and you could buy your tickets to see the show live on Eventbrite. Just search Bolingbrook's Got Talent. And then, March 15th is the Amita Health Bolingbrook St. Patty's Half Marathon and 5K. That's going to be on March 15th, starting off right behind Bolingbrook Town Center at 8:30 in the morning. And you can register for that, either the half marathon or the 5K at allcommunityevents.com. That's all that I have for you on this late evening.
All I have is a talk about the Bolingbrook Rotary Club annual fundraiser mac and cheese event. It's Saturday, March 14th. It's our 5th annual. It's our largest fundraiser, and we would appreciate your support. Right now I'm recruiting chefs. We need chefs who are good at making a creative mac and cheese to serve to about 200 people. So if you enjoy making mac and cheese and are willing to make a lot like Michael did last year, did you win?
I did not win.
You did not win. But
I ate some.
We have mac and cheeses of all different flavors, condiments, ingredients, and whatever. So if you want to just come out and have a good time eating a variety of mac and cheese, come out and do that. We have restaurants who donate other types of food to go with it, but we need chefs. So if you'd like to be a chef, contact me and let me know. Thank you.
Please.
With that, We have no executive session, so most adjourns in order.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Provenzano, second trustee Watts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Wait. We can wait. Oh.
Debbie, how do you spell your name? Debbi?